It was different than I expected. It was longer than I expected. It just moved very slowly.
I always had very painful periods, so I knew that was not going to be easy breezy. Like this woman you see, you know, having like, ooh, yeah, so I was telling you, yeah, not really my type of birth. I screamed nonstop, I think.
Rhythmically, surely, labor begins. You feel the pains, the labor contractions of the uterus, either low in the abdomen or low in the back, under the flat bone midway between the hips.
I think once I was in it, I was like, wow, this is happening. And my expectation, I didn't know what to expect, you know? Like I had an expectation, but it was so not like, it's hard to describe birth.
My hope was to have a non-medicated natural birth, but my water broke early. I went to the hospital and they said that they had to induce me.
When it happened, I didn't really at first know what was going on. Technically speaking, my water had broken, but it wasn't like the huge gushing rain that you see in movies.
Like right away it was very strong. Like we did hypnobirthing like throughout the pregnancy, and you know, so I did like every day listen to the really soothing voice of relaxing and go within and find your anchor and all that stuff. And so I was in pain, and my husband was like, "You want me to put the CD?" And that went out of the window.
They didn't really give me a good alternative. They were just like, you know what, you need to get this baby out. Your contractions are not going to come together in the necessary time, and if you try to like defy us, you're going to put your baby in danger.
When we made our way to the hospital, I just had a little bit of back pain, and they had me wait there for quite a while, and I was convinced they're going to send us home, and I made plans with my husband to go to, you know, eat a burger afterwards. When the doctor came in, checked, and her face got all pale and said, "You are 7 centimeters dilated, the babies are coming." And I said, "Really? I have no idea, I have a contraction." She said, "Yeah, you are having contractions." I couldn't feel them. They explained to me later that because the uterus was so overstretched, you don't actually feel the same amount of pain.
They didn't give us a room, so we were walking around the hospital because it was an hour trip back to Brooklyn. So we just were walking around, and for a while I was in the lobby, and I was kind of holding in the contractions and sort of like just gripping the chair, gripping my husband, but not moaning or being vocal or anything like that. And I remember thinking this afterwards, that part of why I think it progressed slowly was because I wasn't letting it happen, because I sort of thought, I'm not gonna have this baby in the lobby. So I wasn't just sort of letting it take over me, you know. And I did finally at one point say, I need to be where I'm gonna have this baby, and that's when they gave me a room. And I wish that I would have asked for that sooner.
They said you can get an epidural without Pitocin, but it's highly recommended to get the Pitocin. And I was like, I'm not gonna go against the midwife's advice. If they tell me to get the Pitocin, I'll get the Pitocin. So anyway, I got the epidural, and it was amazing. It was so good.
I did have a natural birth. I think there was times during my contractions I realized why women get epidurals and why there are drugs for you, because it's intense. She asked me if I want to try for natural birth, because obviously twin A was head down, twin B was transverse, so sideways, but I said, sure, if you think I can do it, I'm open to that too. And then 10 minutes later, my OBGYN said, no, not happening, it's too risky.
In America, there is a big prevalence of interference, especially when it comes to labor. My labor was 30 hours. If I got into hospital early, there's no way they would have let me do what I needed to do. They wouldn't have done. They would have induced me because doctor needs to go home. And I was like, I don't want any of that.
In the end, I've heard stories from my friends in Germany. They say they would never, at this point, do a C-section anymore when the baby is so much in the birth canal already.
I heard about the poop, and like, I knew that it was gonna happen, so even like weeks before I was due to give birth, I was like, I'm gonna poop, you're gonna see it, don't get grossed out, there's gonna be poop everywhere. I was like warning everyone, because I didn't want to be ashamed of it, because that's not, I mean, you're in your most vulnerable state. You don't want to have to worry about like, oh my God, I pooped. So I was just like warning my husband, warning my sister, that's what's coming. And then I read in some book that said it can be helpful to push using a mirror. And when I read that in the book, I was like, that is disgusting. That's the last thing I want to do. Like, ugh. I'm on the bed, they're like telling me to push. I'm trying to isolate my muscles, and I'm like, you know what would be really helpful right now? A mirror. And so they were like, you want a mirror? Like it was an uncommon request, and I was like, yeah. So I was like, let me try it, why not? So I got the mirror. I found that it was helpful for me just to see what was going on. It was like, it did help me isolate the muscles more, and I think it made the whole process faster. But of course, the second that they brought the mirror, poop. And then like I kept pooping and I kept watching it, and I was like, good thing I have this mirror.
I could see the next day you had all these like breastfeeding courses or whatever at the hospital, and everybody who had a vaginal birth was sort of, walking and seemed totally fine. I saw one woman was sitting like cross-legged in the chair, and I was still hooked up to the IV and sort of schlepping myself down the hall.
The birth was beyond my wildest expectations because it was pain-free. I was with my loved ones. I was joking, I was laughing. It was super easy, which seems weird.
When you're in it, you feel like, oh man, like nobody understands, but then shortly after you're like, okay, actually, I appreciate my mother so much more, and my grandmother.
Well, I was pooping the whole time during labor, and then right when she came out, she pooped on me. So.
All right, there you go.
So we're even.
So when it came to the labour, there was no way I was ever going to go into hospital unless, something really bad happened. Then I was like, fine, okay, we'll do the transfer if we need to, but it will be okay. And the husband supported me in that, the midwife supported me in that, the doula supported me in that, and we produced a healthy, happy, smiling baby.
Your baby is born. The job is done. And when your doctor says, congratulations, you did a fine job, he really means it.